Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It is 6:02, but we are ready here for our 6 p.m. segment. We have with us today Dottie, and Dottie is an unforgettable character in the pagan community, both as an entertainer and as an activist. They are a non-binary person who's garnered attention through their work as a psychic and as an entertainer. Those skills have helped them build safe spaces like Metro Valley Pagan Pride, which we're going to talk a lot about, and also to speak publicly about being a pagan in a state led by Christian nationalists, which is true. Today, Dottie is with us, and they will be talking about the work that Metro Valley Pagan Pride is doing and their activism for the queer and pagan people here in West Virginia. The Metro Valley Pagan Pride is a non-profit made for pagans by pagans to bring the greater community together. Community building, which we're going to talk a lot about in the coming segment, is fun, but it is stressful. And so we're going to talk a little bit about getting all of the tea from all of the protesters, and even what it was like being the only pagan at a Christians Against Christianity rally. So I'm really excited to have our guest on the air. With us today. Everyone, please welcome Dottie. Hi.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this. It's been a while since I've been on somebody else's show.
Well, we are glad you're here. And Dottie, tell me, you are an important figure here in the West Virginian pagan community. And I understand that you have some life updates.
Yeah. For a long time, I was Dottie the Psychic. That was my business, Dottie the Psychic. And I'm actually shutting it down now. Partially, we weren't going to talk about small business, so I'm going to skip over that bit. But essentially, it's just difficult to have a small business now. But I do know, like, a lot of the viewers, if you're watching this and you've been watching this for years, then you probably would know me as Dottie the Psychic. You're friendly, mentally ill, neurodivergent, non-binary, poly, pan, pagan, Pisces. But I'm going to be taking that energy and diverting it more towards my activism, both in the pagan community, but also writ large. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And you said you're taking that energy and you are applying it to your activism. And right before, so tell me, what is the goal?
Okay. So let me give you a little backstory. And a lot of if you've been watching this for years, you may know this backstory. I inherited an event. Where'd it go? Hello. No. Looks like I'm still. Can you hear me? Hello. Hi. How are you? You're in the show. Okay, so I inherited this event from a guy named Colin. Love his heart. He was a contrarian. We love Colin. We miss Colin. He started out with Charleston area Pagan Pride. At the time, there was like 2 events that were Pagan Pride. So when I got it, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to financially sustain it by myself. For one, like I could do it for 1 year, but an event is expensive, and you have to figure out how you're going to balance that. The site costs money, the entertainers cost money, and a lot of that money comes from the merchants, but essentially the person hosting it is the one on the hook. So rather than being the person hosting it, we wanted to have a whole community host it, because if the community wants to see it happen, the community needs to make it happen. So that's how we ended up with Metro Valley Pagan Pride. Have I been on? Have you been hearing me, or have been talking to the wall?
No, I've been listening the whole time. I love it. I've been listening the whole time. What I'm hearing is community.
Community, yes.
Community. Tell me more.
So when Colin died, a lot of us were kind of standing around this pivotal thing that was bringing the community together. Like the Kindred, the Raven's Nest Kindred started at Charleston Pagan Pride. Like they met at Colin's house and pulled it together. And it's funny because he had protesters at his first event too. So we were all kind of standing around this project. And when I took it on, I'm like, this cannot just be an event. Mm-hmm. This needs to be something more. Mm-hmm. And I think we all kind of felt that, because like the Kindred, they're the Heathens down in Charleston, a very cool group. And then we have like the Black Forest Clan, which I'm a part of. And we've got now the Coven of the Red Ember, and Huntington UU is trying to get stuff off the ground. We have all these individual strong efforts just to pull people together. But the greater umbrella, the table we all need to sit at to communicate, has to also include like our solo practitioners. Like I personally, before I joined the Black Forest Clan, that's a very recent thing. I consider myself a chaote. It's technically left-hand path. I play it. I am left-hand, left politics. Our first treasurer was a demonologer. We want the whole pagan community, because we've all got to sit down together against what is an impending Christian nationalism. And we may disagree on some certain moral standards in our individual practice, but we do need a moral standard to stand up for each other, building those mutual aid networks and all that sort of thing. And it's all a pain in the ass.
And let me ask you, let me build on that. You had talked about this fight against Christian nationalism, and I understand that you were the only pagan at a Christians against Christian nationalism assembly. Please tell me about that.
That is one of those moments. I think I put that because I was asked to come on the show like right after that had happened.
I love it though. It's great.
Like, I tell you what, like when you follow gods of like chaos and war and death, as a peaceful person, that can translate into some very, very weird situations, especially nowadays when we are basically, we have to stand against the monster. So I have been trying to get Pagan Pride out there. Like, at the very least, I want to make it known for people who are looking for clergy, a lot of us. So there is a group called West Virginia Faith Leaders. I want to make sure, and it's funny because there are a lot of people who work with them that are pagan, but to like have a pagan like group represented is a little different. Mm-hmm. So I've really tried to like work with them and make sure I'm available to work with them to get, and it's funny because there are a lot of them, except for me, they are liturgical reverends, which, and I can't remember the name. I think it's like ecstatic or something like that. Basically, so liturgicals would be more like your Episcopalians, your Catholics, your Presbyterians, big fancy churches, elaborate rituals. Very beautiful. I actually did get invited to an Episcopal, I'm so sorry, Nathan. an Episcopal priest installation, which was amazing. I went as clergy. It's funny because everybody else is in white and I'm wearing black. I've got my black, my only like, because I wore this because it's got my pentagram on the, the front. So I'm wearing this as my like religious gear and like a plain black robe. And everybody else is wearing white robes. I'm like, I stand out. Stood out. And of course, I'm not doing the religious calisthenics of, the stand up, kneel, sing, sit. I'm trying to keep up with the stand up and sit, but not the kneel. I'm like, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a hard line there.
Mm-hmm. Some lines we just don't cross.
Right. I don't have a problem with your guy, but he's not my guy. And
that's exactly right. He can be your guy. I love that for you.
Right. You're allowed to have all the gods you want. Just don't expect me to pay homage to the same guy. But basically, so I've been working with this group. So I kind of have been like the token pagan. I'm like, that's fine. Like, at least we're getting represented. So we'll start there because I want to eventually get, clergy in the hospital and in the hospice and things. And it's just a long process and it's an all volunteer group that we're building these resources. None of us are getting paid. So.
And when you speak about community, it's not necessarily about, it's not at all about one person building a community. It's the responsibility of the community itself to help to build itself.
Right. It's my honor. It is my honor to be the nursemaid of what will be West Virginia Pagan Pride very soon.
The foundations.
The first peoples, even. Like, I want my name. Someday I will be nothing but a name and a picture on a wall, and I am very happy with that idea. I will be like the first in a string of pictures and names. And like we're building a council. The heads of different religious groups can come to and air grievances and things like that. We have monthly meetings every the second Wednesday of every month. We do a Discord meeting. Like even that, because originally we were doing meetings because, I had Dottie the psychic. So I had the software to host meetings. But I was like, I looked at my vice president. I'm like, we need to decentralize this as much as possible. Mm-hmm. We need to make decisions as a group. We need to work as a group.
This seems highly organized.
It's been a long time coming. We work on this. Like when I say we, I mean we. It's becoming a bigger and bigger group because there are mountain pagans who are not watching the show, who are never going to come out of the mountains. They're doing their own thing on their own time and don't care. They don't ever need to come out of the broom closet. But we've also got people like single moms who are just looking for community. We've got, we have everybody because it is such a broad thing. Like, and we were going to talk about how like there are a lot of different people from walks of life. A lot of our community is first generation pagans. That's not to say we don't have a lot of multi-generation pagans, but they do tend to not want to join groups, especially if they have like direct descendants from First Nations. There is this inherent covertness, this not being willing to be a part of a group on that level because you're putting yourself at risk. So we have them that will come and they don't want to like you shouldn't have to tell everybody what you're practicing to be a part of the pagan community. Like we all have our own say.
I agree with that. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead. I would love to hear your opinions. I want to incorporate.
I draw the line at what I do publicly and what I believe personally. Like,
I agree.
If I'm going to put myself out into the public, which I'm not, like, I try to be selective in doing that. But if I'm going to put myself out into the public, then I'm going to present myself as a safe space for all folk, right? That's what I want, the public to see me. But I have another line of, like, what I personally believe, and that's my personal belief, and I don't feel like I should have to share that to benefit from a sacred space.
I agree 100%. Like, yes, we have our, like, and here's another thing, like Metro Valley Pagan Pride, we have Brew Navroom. That's our big flagship event. We're doing our 4th one this year. And every year we have a different group of people do the opening ritual. Last year we actually, we had somebody come from out of town, and the council has kind of decided that we want to make sure that we keep it like in West Virginia. We want our opening and closing ritual to be in West Virginia. If we have other rituals, and we definitely like have like people come, like we've got Heathens Against Hate coming, and they're going to set up a booth. So we've got like outside people coming to make, like, doing that liaison work, doing that diplomatic work. But if it's in West Virginia, we want to be able to showcase the different types of magical practitioners. We want to make sure that people know that we welcome all sorts of different practices, so long as you can maintain our basic ethical standard that is more about not, it's about being inclusive and, considering other people, not going after children, all those things that we would think a society would be able to just know, but sometimes you have to spell them out.
I was actually just thinking about that earlier, right? How do you know that what's good is good and what's bad is bad? It's because that most people, a lot of the people that are not as loud as other people are, I've lost the thought. What was I saying?
We're talking about how good is good and bad is bad.
Oh, they have functioning moral compasses. You know that murder is bad. You know that inappropriate conduct with girls and women and children are bad. You know that thievery is bad. Like, these, like, I'm not saying there aren't gray areas. I stole bread to feed my family. I'm not saying that those don't exist, right?
Right.
General concept.
There's a difference between stealing the chainsaw from the guy next door and stealing a bag of grapes from Walmart.
Right. And
I'm not going to say shit about you stealing. I wouldn't say shit if you set a Walmart on fire, but
but like it's just normal, like,
not condone violence.
It's the normal, like, these are the basic things, the very lowest bar things you can do to be a basic human being.
Right. And that's basically, like, that is kind of the foundation. Like, you identify as an alternative religion, can maintain some basic moral standards, and want to build community around being of an alternative religion. We are, like,
what is that called? Everything you just stated there, that one big beautiful package that you just said, what is the
community
name? Is that it?
That is community. To me, that is community. Mm-hmm. Like, we have a common goal to build things for our groups. And yeah, it is kind of like there's a lot of heathens, there's a lot of Wiccans, there are a lot of your standard, what we kind of think of as like standard pagan groups, but also, like, we want to just include everybody. We're building the pagan community together. Like, and I say we because if you want to be a part of it, then you're already a part of it. Just show up. You come to meetings, pick a project. Like, my favorite thing is I'm working on a documentary. This is like my project is I'm working on a Meet the Pagans documentary. Let me show you where I get the title from. Hold on a second. I can grab this real quick.
Dottie, come back.
So
you can blame it all on me. Oh, hello.
So this is Meet the Pagans from Metro Valley Pagan Pride. Most of this was written by our social media manager. Let's say social media manager. Our Facebook. I cannot. You know what? Robin. She runs the Facebook group. She's sort of our media outreach person. She's been in it since the beginning, but like she wrote most of this book. I think I did the foreword and the end, like a little note from the president. And so I loved that name. I'm like, okay, let's do a documentary. Let's go meet all the pagans in West Virginia. So I wasn't actually going to stop shooting like last week. I put a hard date. I wanted to do it in a year and a day and keep up with the holidays. But I am like, it's my baby. I'm the one who's doing all the legwork. I'm not saying there aren't people out there who would help me, but it's been kind of one of those, like, this is my project kind of deals. Another project we have that is a much more community-based project, a much more broad-based project. We have a seasonal newsletter. It comes out on the equinoxes and the solstices. So the quarters. The high points of the wheel. So our next one will come out on summer solstice, and our deadline to submit articles then would be like June 1st. So I think we've already got a theme picked out. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but like if anybody's interested in submitting an article to that, let me know and I'll get you in contact with Shannon to give you more details, because that's kind of her baby. She's taking the head of that. Because what she wanted to do was to gather poetry from, like, we're going to do the newsletter. For one, it's a good way to communicate with the community. Getting that newsletter out, sharing it out is a great way to remind people that we are a living community. We are not something that happened in the 70s, and we're still here. Like, there is that group of people.
And we are here because what I and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to summarize this as I've kind of understood it. Well, firstly, we know that Appalachia is more in tune with the magical practices. Right.
We're the dark heart of the oldest mountains in the world. We are filled with magic.
I've already yelled older than the rings of Saturn once today. Anyway, we have...
My dog came in to say hello. I'm sorry. I gotta...
Yay, puppy dog! I can make the doggy big.
There we go.
Oh,
Luther! Hey, buddy!
Hold on. I can make him big.
Let's see. There you go, Luther. Say hello, Luther. Oh, he's begging for a sandwich. Sorry. My husband's in the corner, and I'm trying not to get him in camera. That's my dog. That's my dog. Who's a good baby. That's Luther. He's a straight up, he's my familiar. He was a gift from Hecate herself.
Oh, absolutely beautiful.
Sorry, what were we talking about? You were saying something older than the rings of Saturn.
That's the important part, right? Because the land is in our bones, and so is that magic, right? So we have itty bitty little, you were talking about earlier, these little pockets of people that may have been practicing for quite some time, but don't really step out of the holler. You know what I mean?
Well, it's only been like, it's not safe. It's not safe. I don't want to say it didn't used to be safe, because it's never really been safe. I know people who are afraid, there was a shop down in Logan that a lot of people still remember that ran out of town. They literally were run out of town. A teacher put a Bible in that girl's in that lady's kid's backpack, in her little girl's backpack, offered to take her to church. All these things that I know that most of the people don't find gross. Even your average person is like, well, that doesn't seem like a big deal, because they're so entrenched. We are so in a Christian nation that was never meant to be a Christian nation. That is not what the forefathers had meant to start. Because just look up the Hellfire Club. Benjamin Franklin was an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say he was an avowed atheist, but certainly he was a partying one.
Mm-hmm. Dabbled in
it. Just a little bit. Though they were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But if you I will never forget, I didn't realize how much I was entrenched in it until one of my friends was like, yeah, my kid wanted to go to church, and I had to explain to her that they venerate an execution. One of the big, the main guy, the big thing that he's known for is getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
If you know any other story about Jesus, you know that he died on the cross for everybody's sins, whatever that means.
Oh my gosh, I was reading, the little bits of scripture that you read that came after the Bible. God seems in that particular book, God seems a little upset that they murdered Jesus. I don't know what to tell you. That's just what it says. He's a little mad about it.
Right. Oh, I was telling you earlier about being the only pagan at the Christian rally against Christian nationalism. So West Virginia, I'm trying to get West Virginia Pagan Pride. We're trying to get our name out there.
That's what I was talking about, right? We have all of these because we've had Morgantown Pagan Pride, we've had Charleston Pagan Pride, we've had Metro Valley Pagan Pride.
There's
Metro Valley is bringing.
Ohio Valley. Yes, I want everybody.
We want to bring
all you got to do is show up to the meetings on the second Wednesday of the month. I will
second Wednesday of the month, people.
Just show up. That's all you really got to do. We've got the Huntington area. They're rebuilding that UUC down there. It was basically defunct for a while, and they're bringing we as pagans have pulled our faith from the clay itself. Mm-hmm. And so we are also building our community from the clay itself.
Mm-hmm.
I
love it. Yeah, West Virginia Pagan Pride. That's the goal.
Right. Okay. That's it. That's West Virginia Pagan Pride, is everybody's pagan pride. And it's been my honor to be the psycho bitch that goes out to solidify people, because to build a platform, you have to let people know it's out there. You can't trust the computer algorithm. You can't trust an algorithm that is designed to keep us locked in our own individual heads to help you build something community-based.
Boots on the ground.
Yes. So that's how I ended up with Justice and Jubilee, which I think I got there. Let me see if I can find it right here quick. Justice and Jubilee. And my liturgical reverend friends, whom I love dearly, there are true Christians. The story of Christ is a beautiful story of self-sacrificing for the greater good, and trying to do my part to build West Virginia Pagan Pride has brought me very close to that sort of martyrdom. I will say that there have been moments where I felt like I was in that garden. I understood why the gods picked me. I don't know, but here we are. And we're going to do the damn thing.
And you have the energy and the will to put the boots on the ground, though. Not everyone can do that. A lot of people will talk about it, but won't actually put the boots on the ground. And exactly. I think that is the distinct difference.
You know what? It's funny because I still struggle with the idea. I struggle with the idea of being an activist personally. I definitely want to say that I am, partially because that does give me clout that will allow me to help motivate other people to go and do it. But there's this moment where I'm like, Am I an activist? And what does that actually mean? Which is a whole different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you the story. So I did end up going to this. I didn't know that they were all going to be we were Justice and Jubilee. I didn't know that the rally we were doing was going to be Christians against Christian nationalism until I get up there and I see this brown sign in front of the podium that we're all going to talk in front of. And I'd asked them to speak. Like, they put me on the list. I was like, okay, I'll get up and speak. And I told them I was going to do a pagan prayer.
Oh my.
I didn't know they were going to put up a sign that says Christians against Christian nationalism. So I got up there behind that podium where everybody's talking. I got a few prayers, a couple of laments, which are really cool. Like, it was really beautiful to listen to them speak from their heart. Like, you know, these are people of faith. It may not be my faith, but it's deep faith, and I respect the hell out of them.
Yes.
And it comes to my turn, and I'm like, I would like everybody to stand up and face north.
Hey!
I got up there and I called the fucking scared the dog. I banged on the table, get all excited. So I got up there and I want to show off my hoodie real quick. I got up there and I called the corners in the middle, went right behind the podium that says Christians against Christian nationalism, and I'm calling on the guardians of the corners, and even I summoned elementals, and I kind of did this on purpose, but I also did it in a bit of a panic. I'm like, okay, I'm going to summon these elementals, and I'm just going to leave them in the Capitol until the end of legislative season. So, like, let them just wreak havoc. So I call them up and I give them their commands, and I didn't, like, properly detach them. So, like, the rest of the week, I'm like, they're, like, feeding off my energy, and I'm just in, like, a weird phase. I think they couldn't quite connect to the energy. There's so much nasty energy in the Capitol building. Like, everybody I know who goes there is like, do you feel that? And I'm like, yeah, it feels like walking through. It feels like walking through sludge.
I don't care if it's a pastor or a pagan, what have you.
Right.
Somebody needs to go in there with a smudge stick.
Actually, it's funny you should say that, because I know there's been a lot of individual effort. We do need to have, like, this is something that West Virginia Pagan Pride really hasn't done. Like, we haven't done it. We do need a group. Actually, if anybody's interested, I might have somebody who's starting a group off of their group for more political people. But I also think in a lot of ways we are taking over. The progressive movement is taking over the pagan movement, because a lot of us, number one, a lot of us are intersectional as shit. You know, like, I know a lot of my trans friends are people in some sort of faith community. Like, and I've got a friend who's a trans Quaker. His name is Ollie. He's great.
I want to meet Ollie.
I will see. You know what? We ought to see if we can get Ollie on here. If you wanted to do a regular show, Ollie would be a great guest. He takes forever to get a hold of because life be life and hard. But he's the preacher from the Black Lagoon, and he's a Quaker. So, and I know a lot of trans pagans. I know a lot of trans pagans, and pagans of color, and also, when you are a pagan, we can be all family oriented and we want, but a lot of times, just because we're an alternative religion, we kind of get looked at as something dark and scary to keep your kids away from. You know? But we've got families in the community, a lot of families, especially, you know, like my generation, who kind of got our awakening through the craft. And it's funny because I've heard so many like multi-generational pagans be like, oh my God, these fucking movies, they just start a wave. And I agree, whenever we get a really good movie that really, really depicts witchcraft and magic or heathenry, because it happened with the Vikings, where you get this wave of newcomers.
Why not? Why not? Guide them.
It's all got to start somewhere. Everybody's going to start somewhere. And certainly some people start... And some people who are just doing it for the aesthetic will fall off.
Mm-hmm.
If they're just doing it for the aesthetic, they will fall off. But and then there's people like me who got hooked on the craft as a little girl, and now I'm a full non-binary person practicing for it's a long time.
A long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Like 16. I'm working on at least 2.5 decades. You know? So we all got to start somewhere. That was funny though. But like, and I want like more, but if we have like a real like community that people can like reach out to build from, then we can have more realistic heroes.
We know you're out there. Come and find us.
Come and
Send Dottie a message. We know you're out there, community.
Right?
We need your help.
We are out there. We are out there, and people are stepping up. And I think 2026 is going to be a year of a reckoning. Like, and that's another thing. Like, because I can get people whipped up for politics, but the thing is, like, the protests and the energy is not sustainable.
That's right. Nobody can expect one person to be the perpetual Energizer Bunny. That's not feasible. It's not realistic.
Right. So in a lot of ways, between Colin and watching the rise and fall of civil liberty groups, I wanted to help start something that was going to survive peace as much as it survives persecution. Because I can get, if we know there's going to be some hate preacher going, we can get 10 people riled up right now. But the craft circle is hard to maintain. People want a craft circle. We have a craft channel on the Discord. Nobody sets it up. Nobody wants to take point on the smaller projects.
So this is a PSA. If you are the type of person that enjoys the smaller details, the smaller projects, the finer details.
Right. And there's another thing, like everybody, and we have so many people who would be brilliant leaders, who are brilliant leaders. And they go and they start their own project and they burn out because they really have built small, singular communities. Whereas if we can bring that small, singular community into the bigger group, people will move around and fill in the blanks. It makes us all more robust. And it makes it easier. One of the things that we were doing, like when ice was in our backyard, was reporting on ice. A lot of the pagan community jumped in on that, like, because we know most of us are aware. Some of us are just now waking up to the fact that we're a minority. There is certainly like a subset of red-pilled, just Republican pagans. I know they exist.
I don't understand it. What is going on?
Like the neo-Volks, I don't understand you. I don't like it. It's almost sometimes I think they're Christian without the theology. Like the worst parts of Christianity without the theology. And like I said, I do know plenty of good Christians. I'm not here to down them, but that Christian nationalist sort of theology.
And that's really what, throughout this entire segment, because Father Thomas had also talked about the Christian nationalists, the evangelical.
Because they're on our doorstep.
Right. And But the good thing to note is that if politics is something that you're interested in, you have a particular group that you're kind of forming?
You know what? Yes and no. Like, that's another thing. Like, a lot of people are doing a lot of individual work. I do think it would be good. I cannot take point on that. I can't take point on that because I'm still president of West Virginia Pagan Pride. I would certainly participate if somebody else wanted to take that project on and start to lead groups of pagans to protests. I have met a lot of pagans that are not a part of Pagan Pride, at those kind of protests. I've been trying to get out at, because here's the thing, like, I don't understand how you can be a Republican pagan, because it seems contradictory at its core. At its core, we are part of the counterculture. Like, we've taken the word witch, that's second wave feminism, took that term back and we put it to purpose, that's, heathen. Heathen used to be a derogatory term for anybody who wasn't Christian, and more often than not was levied at the First Nations people. And now it's a whole religion. Like, it's such a step back to vote and condone the leadership that destroys nature when you say you worship the earth. We call upon the air and the water and the fire and the earth. How can you call upon them while you're trying to actively poison them?
Absolutely. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Something that I would like to touch on is you had touched briefly on how the terminology changes over time. And you had also said that when a community is presented with alternative views, especially families, they could see that alternative view as scary, and they don't understand it, right?
Our first Pagan Pride, and it's a Pagan Pride, make no mistake, it is a family-orientated group. Metro Valley Pagan Pride, West Virginia Pagan Pride, we are a safe space. We are family friendly and LGBT friendly and BIPOC friendly. And that pisses people off.
Sure does. How dare you be welcoming?
How dare?
Dottie, define pagan.
You know what? This is one of those things I think is so funny to try and define, because I like the broadest term possible is what I mean when I say pagan. Certainly some people want to define it very, very narrowly to almost like their definition of it. And I think that's very strange.
They're seeing it through the lens of their own religion or whatever it may be.
I think, here's the thing, is I think that the word pagan wouldn't exist without the threat of Christian nationalism, or whatever overbearing religion it is. You're never going to have a pagan dominant nation, because at that point, pagan would no longer mean anything. We would be an egalitarian. There's a fancy word here I want to use where everybody's religion is respected, and I don't remember what it is. But to me, it is essentially alternative religions. It's less about what you believe, what your particular path is, and the paganism is the umbrella for all of that.
Okay, now let me ask you this question, because that was beautiful. As president of the Metro Valley Pagan Pride, what would you say to a person or a family who might be interested in the vision, but who has always been, but who's concerned about the word pagan?
I think, you know what, this is funny, because most people, I've met so many people who are like animists, who are like, but I'm not a pagan. I'm like, you're an animist. That's a type of paganism. You don't have to believe in a god. You don't have to have, and here's the thing, you don't have to have an inherent moral code to be a pagan. You have to have an inherent moral code to be part of pagan pride. Just like, because it is a pride that is naturally lend itself to being a progressive movement.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be progressive to be a pagan, but you are if you're going to be part of a pride.
And we were talking about that earlier. It's you can believe whatever you want to believe. You can do whatever you want to do, but that doesn't save you from the consequences of your actions. If you're out doing awful, terrible things, people aren't going to want you to join their, council or their collective or their, events or anything. They're going to ask you to kindly go away.
That is a very real statement, because sometimes people don't want to play nice, and that's valid. But if you're not going to play nice, then you can't play with us.
You can't play in this sandbox if you don't want to play nice. And that's just the crux of it. Chloe Angel, hi.
I would say if people are scared about what pagan means, then they inherently don't understand. They're probably still very much working from this Christian understanding where Christianity is good and everything else is evil. And that's, I think, whenever whenever any religion gets to the point where everybody who's not part of that religion is bad, then you're in a dangerous spot. Christian nationalism. We're talking about Christian nationalism. And that is the antithesis of what a pagan is. The term itself is it's mentioned in the Malleus Maleficarum. It's mentioned before we knew really about a lot of other countries, and it had to do with the common folk who had not yet heard of Christianity. So if you're, and Hollywood doesn't help us at all. The mixed messaging is it goes from you have some actual real semi-representation to fantastical good and phenomenally evil, and just scattershot through it. There's and in some ways that does kind of reflect the pagan community, because we're a diverse community. Not everybody is good. And we are trying the grand community versus the pride community, because, the pride community, that's kind of what we're trying to do, is protect our own community. There is good reason to be careful in the pagan community, especially as a woman, because the same misogyny that exists out in the world exists within us. I think a lot of us have had the experience, especially as young women, and even as a non-binary person with boobs, of coming across people who will use whatever clout, for lack of a better word, social power, clout. Clout's my favorite word for it, because that really is it's just not corporeal enough to fit everything. Essentially, to manipulate people who are younger and create there's the bed hopping cults, or what I got, my first coven was the Cool Mom coven, which is essentially contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And the bed hoppers, especially around in the 90s when I was coming up, it seemed like I've seen the bed hopping just destroy what could have been something very cool. And so that's another thing. It's not just threats from the outside that we're protecting from, but threats from the inside. I think your audio dropped out, dear.
Because we have to understand that exactly what you said, you can be a pagan
and still be an asshole.
And still be an asshole. It's just a thing. Exactly like how you can be a Christian and still be an asshole. And I like what you were talking about, using clout to manipulate. And what's funny to me is in a lot of these Abrahamic texts that I have been reading, literally using more clout to manipulate otherwise good people is how they would define certain magics or
Yeah.
you know, we're like, I was gonna say in paganism kind of, but you know, that goes a little bit further on, but it is often synonymous with using magic. And a lot of those texts literally warn folk that they have wolves and sheep's clothing and shepherd's clothing amongst them. Like half of the book is talking about how to look for the non-believer and how to identify them. And yet we still have people getting ate by the wolf. You know?
What's the thing? All the Abrahamic religions, not just Christianity. And I want to be very careful because no religion is better than any other.
Right.
No religion should have anything to do with the state. That is a personal choice.
Yes.
And it is an unfortunate reality that there will always be people who will see somebody else's faith and try to manipulate it to their betterment, to their comfort, rather than the good of the community.
And it doesn't matter what religion you're from.
No, because I've seen it in the pagan community. I have seen it definitely, like, it is a hallmark in a lot of ways, the Christian faith, because it is so patriarchal. And I don't mean that as in like the grand community sense, which I do think is a big contributor, but the main guy, you know, the main sky daddy, you have to appease by following this very narrow sort of way of living, primes people for cult behavior. And one thing that we value in the pagan community is individual path, individual thought. I know we talked about before we popped on how everybody has like their public practice and their private practice. And certainly I know, especially in the Black and brown community, they don't necessarily want to participate with us because their practices are closed.
Right.
And they're closed because they have been taken advantage of over and over and over. So how do we open a community to them that have a closed practice? So realistically, if we're going to create a community around alternative religions, it is more about stating that you have an alternative religion. And I'm certainly will have, I think we have an atheist or a satanic witch and Christo pagans, and I don't have to understand. It's not my place to understand. I am only trying to understand my own path, my own personal morality.
I am having enough time trying to understand my own.
Right. Look.
Glass house, my own path over here. I don't need to figure out Karen's. It's too much.
It is too much. And like there's already bumping egos and things like that.
That's so human though. Like you're gonna have that with anything, you know.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like I do think if we ever reached a point in this country where everybody really was okay to just be who they were, if everybody really was able to follow their own faith in their own time, we probably wouldn't have pagan pride, because we wouldn't be afraid to come forward about abuse in the community. We wouldn't be afraid to step forward about the little micro cults. There would be alternatives already out there just in the community. They could go to just a different temple, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, here's the deal though. I love how you described what a pagan is and how the individualized path is the celebrated path, mostly celebrated path. But we also know just how difficult it is to herd cats.
Oh, exactly. And it's funny because people want to be in agreement with each other, even if it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a chaote. That's my personal path. Like, I am following a Wiccan path now. I'm working inside of a Wiccan construct with the Black Forest clan, like a traditional. And that's another thing. Like, I feel sorry for the Wiccan community. I don't know why. I do know why. Llewellyn Press nerfed the Wiccan community. Between that and like all the big Wicca 101 books, it really nerfed what it meant to be Wiccan. So a lot of people tend to think of them as almost being like sort of Christian light. Like Christian plus Sky Daddy plus Earth Mommy. And that's
what it seems like, Sky Daddy plus Earth Mommy. I mean, if that's your thing, that's cool, but
like, if that's your thing, that's cool, but that's not even really like, because Wicca has traditions and depth. We have this watered down community idea of what that is, and then we have like real Wiccans who are like, nah.
But we talked about community responsibility because we have a lot of these young folk that are buying these books. They're reading it sort of like a manual, but they don't have much guidance. And we need folks to step out and offer that guidance. Like you had said at the beginning, that almost apprenticeship.
Right. And like also, and here's another thing, like as Pagan Pride, we can set the standard that a mentor should not be sleeping with their apprentice.
My God, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know. That's none of my business, but I definitely would not.
In the community, we can set that standard. We may not set the standard around any of the practices you're teaching them. We're definitely not telling you which gods to speak to, but to be a part of Metro Valley Pagan Pride, that's a standard we could set.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that is a major that is a major dynamically opposed, power dynamic.
I agree. I do not disagree. That's for sure.
That's an easy example. And honestly, that can be a little hairy, especially if you've got like a wife teaching a husband or something like that. But like, that's a good example. Like setting that example that you can't, but also just getting out and getting loud. Because I've done a lot of other activism outside of that, trying to be just loud and proud. Right now is a time to just be loud and proud.
And what that's kind of telling me is,
sorry to ADHD all over the place. That is the defining characteristic.
And the unfortunate part is big same, but it's okay. We're getting there. But it's like sometimes engaging the community can be like herding cats, especially when there is misunderstanding that surrounds even terminology, such as pagans. But from what I understand, from what we have been talking about, is that West Virginia Pagan Pride is on the rise.
And we're always looking for new members.
And in West Virginia Pagan Pride will be a collective of individualized practitioners, pagan practitioners, alternative religions in West Virginia. Is that correct?
Yes.
But in order to join West Virginia Pagan Pride, there will be ethical codes of conduct. Is that correct? Not a creed, but ethical codes of conduct if you want to be in this space in order to ensure this space is safe.
Right. And we're doing more than just that. Like I said, this is to survive peace as well as times of strife. Like, I wanted to talk about one of the things I wanted to make sure I brought up. We talked about the newsletter earlier. Did we talk about it before or after we got on the camera?
We talked about it, I believe. Yes.
One of the reasons that Shannon wanted to set that up, because this is her baby. We are having those articles that come out in the newsletter, and eventually she's going to take like the cream of the crop, the better stuff, and some of her own work and some of the stuff from the previous newsletters that we had, and turn that into a book. And then we are going to sell that book to create a scholarship to help pagans get into school. And we'd like, start small. Maybe that's an entrance fee. Maybe that's an application fee. Maybe that is a book. When the time comes, that little bit of money can make a huge difference, especially with things being so up in the air. But it's all about that. So there's this mutual aid aspect.
Mm-hmm.
There is this bringing people together, like the Facebook group. There's this sense that I think if we can all bring a little bit to the table, there's going to be a lot more for everybody.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And we have hit the hour mark. Dottie, are there any final thoughts or anecdotes that you'd like to add?
I don't know, baby. Is there anything I missed? Let me pay attention.
Yeah, mostly. Nothing I can think of.
We are pagan. We are proud.
Woo! Excellent. Well, thank you so much. This conversation has incredibly enlightening. I feel motivated, and I hope that friends watching from home feel motivated. If you're interested in contributing to the quarterly newsletter, or if you're interested in the documentary that Dottie is working on, or if you're interested in West Virginia Pagan Pride, then reach out to us, reach out to Dottie. How's that sound?
We have a website. I forgot to tell you. If you go, we actually got the domain. We haven't quite got everything set up. It's still all Metro Valley Pagan Pride because we're going to do a logo competition. And hopefully by Broom Not Vroom, September 26th, Hurricane.
Yeah.
Valley Park Hurricane. That was a hell of a place to set up. I'll tell you more about next time I come on. I have to tell you about our protesters from the first year. But and so you can go to wvpaganpride.org.
Gotcha. wvpaganpride.org.
Yep. And you can learn more. There's our Discord and whatever projects we're working on. So
excellent. Well, Dottie, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Safe travel and much profit to you. It was my old sign up. I know.